Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday. I am Rich Tesla, and this is the Two Guys Tech Home Lab Hour. Oh, excuse me. I must put on my uniform. You know, it's a funny thing. I was telling somebody recently, like, the instant that the hat became like a thing, like the outfit, the look, the fit, as the kids call it, the incident became more like a uniform and more like something that I was obligated to wear, which is nobody tells daddy what to wear. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a fantastic start of the week, minus yesterday's AWS outage, of course, which we're going to talk about a little bit. Anyway, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Welcome to this week's Two Guys Tech Home Lab Hour. I am Rich Tesla, as I said. This is the 33rd episode of it, which is great. I was telling Brandon that it's kind of blows my mind if you think about it. We do one, basically, we try to do one of these a week, you know, minus my poor scheduling of other events and stuff. But like I said, you know, 52 of these makes a year. So we're over halfway through a year's worth of these things, which is great. I would honestly never thought these would have gone so long. Anyway, as I always say in the show, we have a Discord. The community is really where it's at when it comes to hangout, and the chat has been blowing up with people XP farming probably ever since yesterday night when I actually scheduled the live show. But we've got lots of people in that Discord right now, or the chat, excuse me, who are part of the Discord. Discord's free, no paywalls. Come hang out with people just like you and me who love technology, home labs, and that kind of stuff. Brandon is turning the knobs. Oh, sorry. One more thing. At the end of the show, I hop onto the Discord and we just get like in the kind of like an after show sort of thing where we just hang out and chat about technology, people's days, people's lives, you know, what they're working on computer wise, that kind of stuff. So hop in if you want. It's a good opportunity to be talked over by a bunch of people, which is cool. I mean, it's honestly, it's really great. Like I interrupted myself saying, Brandon is behind the scenes producing the show, turning the knobs, making sure the audio levels sound good, making me look like I know what I'm doing. If the show sucks, it's my fault. If the show looks good, it's Brandon's fault. You know what I mean? Anyway, I like to start these things as I do with a personal story. And this one is not technology related. This is old man Rich related. That is, I have an Instahot. You guys know what Instahots are? Now listen, I don't want to come off sounding like I'm kind of one of these bougie people who like, I've got a machine that makes hot water for me because it came with the house. But they're really nice. I highly recommend it. Everyone should have an Instahot. They're really great. Anyway, it has been in this house since I had purchased the house, and it's probably been in the house ever since the house was built, to be honest. Anyway, it died. So I went and bought. Well, I told my wife what to buy. I'm not going to pretend like I'm the one. I have to do the install, but it came a couple weeks ago, and it's been sitting on the counter ever since. So she finally had, she'd had enough, and she told me to install it. So I did the installation. Anyway, the installation was fine because it was like Instahot to Instahot. So other than changing out the stuff and like driving to Home Depot and getting a bunch of pipes and shit like that you need to do plumbing, which I think I've mentioned to you guys before, I am a technology person. I am not a plumber. I am not a carpenter. I measure twice and cut once and then realize that I measured from the wrong spot and cut another piece. Anyway, Instahots are great. Everyone should have one. Anyway, long story short, that went off without a hitch. There wasn't really anything. There's like no drama, no spraying water, no comedy effects. But you got to get up under your sink, and there's like pipes coming down. I'm like bent all over and all this stuff. I woke up yesterday, and my lower back is in just agony. And I'm telling my wife, I'm like, it's above my back hip bone, and it kind of radiates down my leg. And she's like, yeah, that's probably your sciatic nerve. You just need to take it easy, or ice or whatever. And I'm like, but it hurts. And I'm a huge baby. I don't know what it is. But in my relationship, I'm the big baby. You wouldn't have never guessed, right? And my wife is the stoic, strong one. So anyway, if you see me doing this, if I'm like moving around a lot, it's because I'm standing and it sucks. Anyway, long story short, if you're old, you know what I'm talking about. If you're young, how dare you? You are spoiling the best parts of your life, but this is coming for you too. Anyway. Yeah, what Levick said, Rich was working on the other tubes instead of the interweb ones. That's right. And Shadow Technologies. Rich. Did you get that? Yes, I did. I got my new washer. I didn't buy a Speed Queen because I like front loaders. And so I bought an LG and it plays a different song, and they're probably all like this, but it's all smart home enabled. And so is my Samsung, but different, like way less. These things are like, they talk to each other. So when the washing machine is done, the dryer goes, oh, I know you just did a load of towels. Let me prepare myself for towels. And then you have to move it in there. But anyway, so yeah, I got it. Washing machine is up and running. Aragorn Strider said, my next project for you after you finish converting to UniFi is to play around with the Samsung DeX. I don't know what the Samsung DeX is. Now I'm going to have to look it up. We're gonna take a I can't spell Samsung right. Let's see. It's a I'd have to have a Samsung phone, and I'm an Apple person. I'll check it out. I mean, this is interesting. Visit the app store. I'm gonna look into it. Thank you, Aragorn. I will definitely look into it. Oh, you Apple. You know, I will say, not that I'm I think that the brand loyalty is for suckers. I just want to say that from a technology perspective, like, don't get hung up. If you buy a UniFi firewall and it works great, but then in a year and a half, UniFi is not doing, 3 years down the road, they're not keeping up with the innovation, and they're kind of sucking. You should leave. Don't ever get tied into this like loyalty for a brand or something like that, because they're just going to use you. It's like the same reason why people have to go find new jobs to get pay raises, because you just get used up. Anyway, but I will say that Samsung's hardware, and because I so much, this is weak. This is a weakness that you probably shouldn't know, but I want so badly to have a foldable iPhone. I know there's one coming. I know it's supposed to be coming like the next iPhone, but I want one so bad. And then so I'm sure that when Apple gets their foldable phone out next year, it's going to be like the best iteration, even though Samsung did it first. And I know that I guess the Chinese makers have been making foldable phones before Samsung was, but it'd probably be the nicest implementation of it. But then Samsung's like, hold my beer, here's a trifold where the phone comes out and it's like, and now we got like a scroll, like an ancient Chinese scroll that's like, I want it folds, guys. It's not like a scroll. I mean, it just gets huge. I just want to be able to put a Magic Sci-Fi phone in my pocket that when I pull out turns into like a 10-inch display, like I want that so bad. And Game Over Day is still rocking the OnePlus, or the OnePlus 7T. I don't know if I looked at a 7T, but I have a buddy who's really into the OnePlus gear, and he let me see it. It's quite impressive phones too. Anyway, let's talk about some stuff. So I got to admit, I don't have a whole lot of exciting, cool stuff to talk about, but I do have some interesting topics. I'm going to get this out of the way, because I know if I don't, because it was in the chat earlier, I haven't implemented the UniFi UDM Pro Max yet. I haven't. There's a reason, and mostly because I'm lazy, and because Battlefield 6 came out and I've been playing a lot of that. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I need downtime just like you guys do. Anyway, I'm planning to do it this week. I'm actually planning to, no matter what, it's going to happen probably this weekend, or I'll get chased out of the house with the torches and pitchforks by the locals that reside in this home, but maybe sooner. And the video is coming along. I got to shoot my B-roll and FaceTime, but the copy's written. But let's talk about what happened on Sunday. Sunday. So we have pretty reliable power here in Oregon, right? I mean, where I'm at in Oregon, I should say, specifically in the Willamette Valley, south of Portland area. We have pretty reliable power. We do. I'm lucky. But we do have outages. They happen, but they're typically like 3-5 minutes, nothing really. They're just light. But on Sunday at noon, approximately noon, the power went off. I have a UPS under my desk that I thought I had my PC and my Mac plugged into. The Mac was plugged into the battery side. The PC, which I was using to play Battlefield 6, was plugged into the surge suppression side, so that went offline. I'll fix that. Anyway, but when power goes out, the power, I wait. Like, okay, we'll just stick around for a little bit. Power typically comes back. It's about 10 minutes in. I'm like, power's not coming back. I need to don my Superman superhero cape and run downstairs and start turning off the data center. And, I've got a pretty beefy UPS, and bring that up, Brandon, which is the web browser there. I got a pretty beefy UPS. This is a SmartUps X3000. It is 120 volt, and I know that that's crazy, but that's what I have for a line. But it's a 30 amp circuit, and I did it right. It's got actual correct gauge wire and all that stuff. So it's a 30 amp, 120 volt. And this guy runs everything. It's a single UPS. This is just the status page of it. Let me enhance by there we go. Hope you guys can see a little easier. But it says it's got where was it at? It estimates somewhere around basically about 17 minutes of runtime. So at about 10 minutes, I'm like, I better go downstairs. So I rush downstairs. I have the rack plugged in, my management PC, my 3D printer, and the laser, but technically laser was off, all plugged into it. And I'm a big fan of APC. APC does good stuff. So does Eaton, and even Triplite, I've had pretty good luck with. So I know Sakura said you need new batteries at UPS. I'm not going to change out these batteries until I get a message that says, because the battery pack to replace for this unit is like $500. And I'm not going to, I will wait till the wheels fall off this battery. When it says that this battery is bad, then I will pull it and replace it. But until that point, this is when the new battery went in, and that is still good. Even after, anyway, so back to the story. Power goes out. I run downstairs. A bulk shutdown in Proxmox. Everything comes down safely. Everything's fine. So then I shut the host down, jump over to the TrueNAS box, right? Because TrueNAS also backs a whole bunch of stuff. It's my primary, it's SAN NAS, it's basically an everything box. And, issue the shutdown for that. That took longer than I wanted, but it came down fine. Everything was down. I turned off the firewall because it's pfSense and I can just issue a shutdown. And then I realized that on my 3D printer, I started a print job. And that print job, just because everyone wants to know, we'll talk about that in a second, Allie. That's exactly where I'm going to go here, because I have opinions about that. I started a print job. When you have a 3D printer, and I've talked about this many times, if you have a 3D printer, then everything is like you have the tool to solve every problem. And I decided I'm going to make a new utensil holder for my utensil drawer. And so I designed a utensil holder, right? And it's made out of flex, which is TPU. It's a flexible rubber that you can 3D print. And I start that job. That job is a 2.5 day long job. So I am basically in for a day and a half so far. This power event happens. Now I'm like, this thing is, something bad's going to happen. I know I'm going to turn the power off and it's not going to recover and I'll have wasted all that. But I'm like, I got to do it, right? I don't want my batteries. They're sealed lead acid batteries in this unit, or arrows over here. When you have SLAs like that, if you take them down to 0, they're pretty much dead. You're not going to get the life I had them before. So you need to stop before that point. So I'm like, all right, hit the UPS button, bring down, everything's quiet. It's an eerie quiet when you're in your garage and there are no lights because the power's out and your rack is silent. It's just it's a weird kind of uneasy peace, if you will. Anyone in this chat who's got a stack of infrastructure, they know that when the power goes out and you're sitting next to it and it's silent, it feels like there's some bad times. Yeah. Jason said his AAA UPS lasts about 30 plus minutes with all your gear. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how big the unit is, right? How big your batteries are functionally. But yeah, AAA makes good stuff. I have no complaints about AAA. Like I said, APC, Eaton, AAA, I have good feels about those. The Cyber Masters or Cyber Powers, whatever they are, I don't know if I would go that far. But anyway, so Allie had just said, well, what about, don't you use NUT or APC UPSD? And the short answer is no, I don't. And here's why. Once bitten, twice shy. I'll take you back, like, let's say 10 years, 15 years, or something like that. And I was in charge of a relatively small data center at this company. And it was when I say relatively small, I mean it was a stack of like 7 virtual hosts. This was a software and hardware engineering company, so they had high performance Linux systems that they're using for chip design and all this kind of stuff. And I rent the software engineering was all backed by virtualization, VMware, and all that kind of stuff. And the business ran on virtualization too, right? So, and then there was miscellaneous gear all over the place, here and there. And when I deployed and built this data center, I had put in an AB side of APC Symmetras. I think they were 16 kVA, just big monsters, like big units. And together, they could run all of this gear for a solid 30 minutes. So I was like, wow, that should be great. I had asked the business, mind you, here's a side note because it's going to be asked. I had asked the business, can I have a generator? Please, sir, may I have a small generator? Just a little power? And they were like, no. I'm like, okay, fine. And then there was there's always, when you're building a data center and it's in a third party, like a location, like a business park, there's bullshit that goes along with trying to get the property owner to allow you to do it. And then there's trenching outside and all. I get it, right? It's sometimes it's too much. So, but two Symmetra 16 kVAs, like I said, that was 30 minutes for AB side, and it ran 30 minutes is a long time in a data center to run, and more than enough to handle typical Oregon power. Wouldn't you know, I'd built this thing, and when I deployed everything, I was using PowerShoot. You guys remember PowerShoot? That's APC's commercial automated shutdown stuff, and supposed to work really great, right? It'll talk to Linux, it'll talk to Windows, it talks to virtualization, right? It did all of these things. So, and all of it was set up, all ready, functional, and ready to go. Data center. Thank you, BK. I appreciate that. And right, yeah, everybody's asking me like, WTF, no generator. Listen, I fought the good fight. Power to the people. Anyway, long story short, finally we had a power outage that was long, and I was like, okay, great. It was designed, set so that around 10 to 15% on the UPSs, it would invoke the shutdown process across everything. Now this is a 3-tier data center. So the virtualization. So 3-tier meaning you have compute modules, you had SAN storage, and then you had like network switches. And when you're building out a 3-tier infrastructure, there's a shutdown process and there's a startup process. It's not just like turn it all on at the same time and turn it off at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Your switches need to be online. There's a storage switch, right? This was iSCSI, so it was Ethernet, but dedicated storage network. There was Sakura's already hitting me up in the Discord, sending me links. I'll have to look after the show. Love it. The network has to come up, then your storage has to come up, and then your virtualization can come up, because all those hosts got to come online. They got to talk to, the storage. And this is just a process. You've all been there, or you will be there someday. You will be, unless you're hyper-converged, whatever. At any rate, power goes out. We hit that 15% threshold, and the shutdown execution begins. Now we're almost 20 minutes into this outage, and the whole office is down, right? So people are like, oh, do I go home? What do I do? And I kid you not, the instant that the shutdown procedure kicked off, the mains power came back on. Here's the problem. When you're in a shutdown procedure, an automated shutdown procedure, you can't stop the automated shutdown procedure. It just doesn't work like that. And so I sat there and watched the virtualization that was running go down, the storage backend go down, the power to the switches go down, the physical hosts that were running the high performance compute stuff shut down, and then everything was off. Meanwhile, everybody's like, oh, my computer's back up and I can't get to my resources. What's going on here? I'm like, okay, well, now I'm in for at least another half hour, 45 minutes of turning everything back on the right way. And so the reality is that if you're in a situation like that, I realized, and this is totally up for you guys to debate with me. I think this is more like infrastructure guy conversation stuff, and I think it's actually a good conversation to have. Like, going through that and catching hell for it, and turning something that could have been 30 minutes if I'd have been patient in an hour and a half, let's say an hour and a half, let's just round up, outage in the middle of the day, impacting production was a bigger deal. And so once bitten, twice shy. I do not use those systems. I feel like if the power is going to go out in the middle of the night when nobody's there, that sucks. That's too bad. But if you have control over the power during the day and you have a fast way to shut things down and you be the decision maker, the decider, then you make that decision. Yeah. And so, well, yeah. And Alex got a point. They said that, the next time you wait and it doesn't shut down correctly and it takes a week to fix, anything's a possibility. Honestly, when the power went out for me on Sunday and I was going to send a video out being like, oh, look at my power. I'm like, no, that's stupid. No one gives a shit about my power. And when I was standing next to my rack and everything was silent, things were cooling off, right? And as things are cooling off, you hear like the tick, 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 tick of plastic shrinking and metal conforming back into place because this stuff's on constantly. It's always using power. It's always warm. And I had that same thought that I was like, okay, any sort of power outage, like of any sort, whether it's, you did it safely or did unsafely. Granted, we can talk about the exponential risk of things going down dirty or uncleanly, but like shutting things down tends to cause problems with things. And so I was worried I was going to lose something, lose a drive, lose something. I didn't, I'm knocking on wood here because I didn't. And I feel like that was something that's necessary, but really it's always a risk either way. So I don't know what that means, Sakura. Anyway, so long story short, I've been doing this a long time. Let's just say that too. I think that the right answer, the things that I learned when it comes to data center creation or server room building process, like the real infrastructure stuff, the right way isn't to necessarily rely on shutdown software. It's to have your battery backup, your AB battery backup for redundancy of your, of the systems that have AB or of an ATS, non-automated transfer switch, but also to have a damn generator, because you need to be able to power that stuff, right? And if you can do it, that's the way you do it. That's the right way to do it. And if you can't do it, then size your batteries for the situation where, what is the most likely average length? Because under extreme circumstances, the power goes out for a long period of time, then, you can't keep battery or power running forever. But if you can keep it safe for 30 minutes, at least in this part of the United States where I live, that covers the lion's share of the potential outages or power issues you're going to have. So Gamer Dave said, I literally have a data center inside a power plant. Well then, Dave, you should never have the power go out, because that sounds like there's a bigger issue there. Some random dude said, last power issue blew out the power distribution boards on a Supermicro case, and in recovery I managed to corrupt ExoSAN trying to recover. Oh man, that was a major pain to recover from. Didn't lose any data. Well, that's good. I mean, that's awesome. That's the you did this some hair. Yeah, I know that feeling. That's anyway. So yeah, I think that there's a debate to be had about using automated power shutdown. I know that like NUT exists. I have power monitoring stuff built into I watch all that stuff as well, mostly because I'm a nerd and I like graphs. But realistically speaking, I think that there is an actual hard conversation that has to happen. Like, if you can't have the best gear for something, then you have to make the decisions that get you a long way there. And if clean shutdowns, if you have a hyper-converged environment, then clean shutdowns are easy, right? You tell your virtual host and virtual stack to shut down and everything goes down and clean. But if you have 3-tier stuff and you need to shut down your storage properly, like it's just the way it is. Anyway, this did lead to a good opportunity for me though. And that was when the power came back on, which actually took a while to come back on. To be clear, it wasn't like my historical story. It was more like it took about, the power company said it was going to be off till 5. But I think it was back on in an hour and a half or so. I really wish I knew what happened because it's just unusual. As things were coming up, the first thing I do in my recovery from my home lab is to boot up TrueNAS Scale, or as it's now called, TrueNAS Community. And when it came up, I was like, hey, everybody in the house is gone or unhappy that the power's out. This is the time for me to do some unscheduled upgrades, because Daddy likes to live dangerously. And so I did. I was on the older version of TrueNAS. I have to use the same community, TrueNAS Scale Community, and I decided to YOLO it straight to 2510 RC1, which is the GoldenEye release, and it worked fine. That, long story short. Although, funny story. This is it right here. This is my TrueNAS host as it's running right now. And you can see I'm on GoldenEye. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to. If I make this any larger, it's probably gonna blow up the world. It just makes big things. I don't want that. You guys are just gonna have to squint. Anyway, so when I had this up and running, and I was like, okay, great, everything came back, and you know, I first thing you do is you check your storage pools. You make sure that, oh yeah, look, my slow disks, my SSDs, and my NVMe's are all up and fine. Everything's good. Okay, storage is fine. You know, hit those shares, make sure the shares are working, make sure that they're all running. Everything looks good. And then I was looking down here. I was like, oh, containers. And my first thought was like, containers. Those are my Docker containers. So I click on it, and it's like, containers are experimental and only recommended for advanced users. Blah blah blah. I'm like, and my brain's like, you did it again. You destroyed my Docker containers. You know, because I remember I complained about that the last time there's the move from was it 23 to 24. I was like, oh, I lost it. And I was just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm so mad. And then I was like, oh, what's apps? And I'm like, oh, there's my apps. Okay. All right. Everything's there. Because I really only care, like all this stuff, I really only care about storage because I actually use it. Yes, they need updates. They always need updates. I'm not going to run them now. But containers. Now, sure, I guess I should have been paying attention, but I've kind of been, you know, when it comes to TrueNAS, I've been vocal with you guys and been vocal publicly about feeling less inclined to really want to rely on TrueNAS for anything other than just acting as a network attached storage and block level iSCSI and that kind of stuff. Because, yeah, exactly. Like Sakura said, rage quit. Oh, there they are. I was at that point. I really was just like, I'm just like, that's it. Table flip, right? Anyway, I've been very vocal with you guys talking about how, you know, after the last major upgrade, when they moved from Kubernetes to Docker, and then they added, I can't remember the other thing they had. They changed the virtualization back end from KVM to, someone help me. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head because whatever. And, you know, when that Incus, thank you, Incus. And like all of a sudden things were gone and your virtual machines couldn't be migrated. You had to rebuild them or reattach the disks. And I lost my storage containers and I was just like, oh, you know, I was not feeling it. I was not feeling it. But so I've backed away from using TrueNAS for anything other than truly storage. I mean, storage, specifically network attached storage, NAS storage. I use, you know, it's where all my Plex data and the Two Guys Tech data is. And like my storage of like my photos and videos and, you know, family junk and all that. And yeah, Shadow Technology says it pretty well. Storage and compute should be separate, and he will die on this hill. And you're not wrong. I completely agree. That is really the way it should be. They're offering more features, and that's fine. But anyway, so I am kind of, there's this thing, guys. There's this thing when there's something cool that gets added. Even though I just got done telling you guys I'm not going to use this, I'm like, oh, let's check it out. So let's build let's build an LXC container, even though they're not called LXC containers. So I know it. The one thing I will say, looking at this, like, testing live. Anyway, the thing I thought was impressive though is look at all of these LXC containers. It's looking at this made me go, oh my God, it's like every single Linux distribution there is, you know, from Void Linux. Come on. You guys heard of Void Linux? Springdale Linux, Slackware. Slack still exists. Oracle, Playmo, OpenWrt. I'm not sure why OpenWrt's on there. Anyway, there's just a lot. There's just a lot. NixOS. So I know that certain people on our Discord would be super jazzed to see that. That's a joke. That's an inside joke right there. At any rate, they have a lot of stuff. And so I haven't tried any of this out. I'll hit a button here. CPU configuration. We'll use all the CPUs. How about we just give it 4? How about we just give it Memory size. Memory size in what? Gigabytes. 4 gigs is enough. No environment variables. Storage. Kind of have to add disks. Let's just put it in the. We'll put it in NVMe storage. Why not? Okay. Add. Oops. No. Destination. I don't have anything in here yet, so I don't have a data set there. Let's grab a different one. Get this one here. We'll put it here in my P9. So that was persistent storage we've got there. And what am I missing here, friends? Storage. Destination. What is the? Let's see what this is. Specify the container file system path where the disk will be stored. I think I just did, didn't I? Source is required. Why am I missing storage here? Okay. ASDF. Did that work? I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out. That's look at this. Such as gigabytes. Okay, so if I just say GB, just do this. Why is this? Why are you so hard to do? I'm already unhappy with the speed in which it takes to execute this. For instance, destination must be an absolute path. All right, I'm done. I tried. I'm not even going to bother because I'm not going to use it anyway. But I did think it was interesting that they had all of those. So I guess if you're really looking for to shove everything into TrueNAS and hope that they're going to be a reliable narrator, that's on you. But that was interesting. But like I said, I panicked when I didn't see my Docker applications, as they're called now. I lost my shit for a little bit. I was like, oh god. All right. So I did that, but the long story short is I have not had any issues with it. I did notice that, I don't know if you can see this in the thing down here, but down here in this little black area down below here, that black area there used to be like a running log. It just showed me the syslog of the box. That stopped working. That doesn't work anymore, but I'm sure they'll fix it. But otherwise, storage functionality worked fine. Yeah, no Hyper-V in here, that's for sure. What else? Moving on. Let's get to some fun stuff here. Let's talk about gosh, I'm blowing through my time here. I'm sorry, guys. Lots of rich talking. All right, let's talk about the AWS outage. Somebody in our one of the people in our Discord posted this meme, and I thought it was fitting. It's like a haiku, right? It's a haiku. It's not DNS. There's no way it's DNS. It was DNS. And it was DNS. So let's talk about this because there's a lot to talk about here in terms of like what happened. Okay, so the TLDR, because I'm sure all of you, actually, here we go. While you're listening to me gab on here about like the whole outage and everything, I want to know what services were impacted for you, because US West East 1, which is I guess like either the first or the largest of their AWS data centers in Virginia, it took down a lot of assets. So I will say first, my Amazon website was sorry, we can't process orders, and my Amazon echoes were going bananas. They were bouncing between like doing the whole like I've lost internet, and then the nightmare, I call it the death bong, where it goes boom and does a red ring. It was terrifying. When the kids were little, it terrified the kids. If the Wi-Fi went out and they were just like boom, it was like there was a scary clown in the closet under the bed or something. Anyway, so Geek of all trades, all my services are in Alibaba. Are you a spy? So Shadow Technologies, TwinGate had a lot of interest. Interesting. That is, I like knowing that. That's interesting. So yeah, Smart Sheets, Abnormal's backed in it. Even IFTTT, if this then that, they were unable to process your thises and your that's. So that was, Smart Sheets is the worst. Everybody, press F in the chat for Smart Sheets. If you don't know what Smart Sheets are, you guys are lucky people. I'm gonna drink to that because my mouth is dry. Anyway, what happened? Well, we know what happened because Amazon has given us a postmortem on it. It was in fact DNS issues, that underlying issues that caused issues with a database system known as DynamoDB. Also, and they fixed that. That then things were backed up, and then their load balancers were also relying on DNS. They went down, and so they had to bring things back, throttle and bring things back slowly. And as they did, obviously, the rest of the world was like, I'm paying for this service. Why can't I spin up new instances? I can't fix these things, right? The world has become so centralized into basically the big three. You got your Amazons, AWS, you got your GCP, and you got your Azure. And I'm telling you guys, like, I feel like Al Gore would tell you, this isn't what the internet was supposed to be. This is not the DARPA net that we paid for, or we all dreamed of. Like, this is supposed to be decentralized by its nature. That was it. Not anymore. No, all of this is all just jammed into these big data centers. And when it went down, reading more into it, it sounded like not only did this going down, like, obviously affect a huge chunk of the internet that's hosted in AWS, even Nike. I may have a friend who works at Nike, and he was like, well, let's pack it up, boys. We're not doing anything today. Like, can you imagine the hit to GDP, the amount of money that was lost, or the amount of money that didn't get made? I'm not a big fan of, like, I'll tell you that I'm not a big fan of late stage capitalism, but like, I do like it when the hyperscalers have problems. The company that I work for, they're on Azure, and when it goes down, I'm like, I can't fix this. And so I kind of, there's a bit of schadenfreude. Do you know that the term schadenfreude, like taking joy in other people's misery? I think that's probably a fair assessment of it. And as a data center guy, as an infrastructure guy, as an IT person, as a guy who likes to have on-premises hardware, when the hyperscalers go down, I'm like, yes, feed me more. I feel good about that. I know it's weird to say that because obviously I'm impacted by the same services, but I want companies to repatriate. I want people like me to be able to be responsible for and maintain services and businesses. The cloud is someone else's computer, and when someone else's entire data center goes offline, we can all go home, I guess, early. So I mean, I obviously very, very energized about that because I feel like the cloud is just taken up too much and centralized too much information. And this is evident of that, right? This is what happens when you put all your eggs into one giant AWS West #1 basket. Terrible joke. Anyway, so just know that this is the timeline that we're all on, and we're going to see more of this just because it's going to happen. I think someone mentioned to me too, like, I wonder if there was a situation where these big companies were using AI to do a lot more automation and less engineer work, that, if something like this happened and it was AI driven, would they say that, oh, the termination of engineers is ultimately what led to this sort of thing? Or would they just be like, no, it's DNS. It's always DNS. But I think it was Brandon who mentioned to me, like, these companies, especially like Amazon with their Route 53, like, hyperscalers are on the internet. There's no such thing as behind the scenes. So they use the same public DNS that we use, and they do everything with that same DNS. So unlike a private company that has their own internal DNS servers running, when the outside world goes off, your internal DNS still resolves. But like, if you're AWS or your GCP or your Azure and you're using public DNS for the whole organization, when your DNS goes offline, your infrastructure goes offline because there's nothing else there. And that feels crazy to me, to not have like where's your, I'm sure they believe that there are redundancies in place, but clearly not. Oh, the chat was blowing up as I was being very lively here. I apologize. Shout Technology said, I heard the major under the hood issues started with updates, upgrades that besotted the main host. Okay. I mean, I wish I had some AWS friends that would talk to me under the hood. I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody, but I would just love to know. I'd love to know. Also, and we joke about this, but pour one out for those engineers who had been working since like 3 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, to try to resolve these issues as fast as possible. Those poor bastards. I'm telling you, they had a rough one. That's for sure. But hashtag hard down. All right. At any rate, Oh man, I don't know if where are we at? 6:10. The last thing I will say is to change subjects because I've just pour one out for the CrowdStrike issue a while back too. Yeah, I mean, look, well, that was a different story. That was completely different. But yeah, so Shout Technology said he spent almost 3 years as an Amazon data center tech. He knows what they went through. Yeah, you should probably give those people a welfare check. Shout Technology. Just call your old buddies and be like, hey, you okay? Do you want to talk about it? Like, I just imagine all of the executives whose faces were red and their veins are bulging, because that's usually what happens, and the people in the field are the ones trying to dig out from underneath it. It's a tough job. Anyway, let's talk about one last thing, because I want to change subjects. So I'm running out of time here. I've been talking my butt off, and that is, and you're gonna laugh at me, and you guys can judge me all you want, but I am excited about the DNS spin-off. No, that's it. Hey, Brandon's got it. Apple announced their M5. It's just the regular M5, not the M5s that I want. Like, I want a Pro or M5 Max. I'm on an M1 Mac. Rich likes Macs for editing. And God, you know, so I was looking at all these things. They got all these pictures, these little things. None of the things that they ever show are the stuff that I use Mac OS for. Like, there's no Final Cut Pro shown anywhere. They did show a picture down here. Ooh, look, bubbles. God, these websites, can we just not anymore? Can we? I'm scrolling the mouse if you're wondering what's happening here, but like this whole like scroll down and like, ooh, flying through, like, cool. Can we not? Do you remember when you could just scroll a web page and see everything and you didn't have to be like part of the scrolling? This is Premiere Pro shown here, and I know that 2GT John is not here to see this, but he would probably have a flashback and probably pull his power cord out of the wall, because he was a Premiere user. And anyway, long story short, it's the M version. It's, if you are somebody who's a Mac user like me and you're on an M1, it sounds like it's the time to move. It's been enough generations. They're claiming 3.5% or 3.5 times faster performance in AI workloads. I'm not doing AI workloads, but you know, I do know that those faster cores. The M5 is on PCIe Gen 5 stuff now, so it's got, you know, good fast stuff. But if you're an M3 or M4 user, there's no reason to upgrade, unless you're just like the cult of Mac and you want to use it. So yeah, Jason said he likes his M4 Mini. I have been real close to biting the bullet and buying an M4 Studio, but I haven't. I like the laptop approach, which I'm looking at one. There's one, you can't see, it's below the camera. Anyway, friends, I think we're gonna call that. Like I said, at the end of the show, we go hop on the Discord. It's free to everybody. You can hop in there and we can all, you know, it's basically an after hours hangout and talk about this stuff. I'm sure we're going to talk about Sakura's newest Mac as a 3rd gen i7. Yeah, that's quite old. We hop in the Discord. We talk about AWS and DNS, because it is always DNS. And yeah, I think that's it. We will see you guys next week. I hope you enjoyed it. It has been my pleasure to be here. I've been Rich Tesso. This is the Two Guys Tech Home Lab Hour. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.